the miniature litho from my last video, and although I really liked the drawing, I also felt like it wasn't quite there yet. So I decided to do a counter etch for a second layer. The lighting isn't great, but we're over by my sink, and I have a double sink, so my stones are kind of small. I just use this middle section to hold it in place. First thing I'm gonna do is wash the surface of the stone. I'm going to be doing 3 applications of this counter etch using a cotton pad. So I'm going to flood the surface and then use this cotton pad to massage the counter etch over the stone for 1 minute. My counter etch is a mixture of 1/4 teaspoon of citric acid mixed with 10 fluid ounces of warm water. 3 intervals of 1 minute, and then the counter etch has been completed and it's ready for additions. I'm going to dry it and create my next layer. And this is where things went a little peculiar. I decided that the simplest way to continue the print would be to create a flat. I already had the registration marks on the stone from the first layer, so using the outline that was on the stone, I did a gum masking intended to be filled in so that the entire figure would become a solid color. Being a home lithographer who doesn't use any toxic chemicals in their studio space, I have been using oil-based inks, the same kind of inks that I would use to print, as the greasy base for my flats. And although this has worked really great when done as an initial layer on a stone litho, for some reason, when doing it as a counter etch, it just didn't stick. Help. Gum. In fact, you can see here as I'm rubbing in the initial straight gum etch that the previous drawing is becoming apparent through the flat, which is not what should happen. It should remain solid. When I went for the roll up and second etch, it was the same case of the ink not sticking in a solid fashion, but only in certain areas. So it was a total fail. So I suppose I've learned my lesson that printing ink is not a good printing base for a flat after a counter etch, and it most likely would need some asphaltum, although it is a great option on a first layer of stone. Now I know that it's not that the counter etch didn't work, because that area that is still left open in this video in the top left corner, I did some additional drawing on and it worked perfectly. There are, of course, going to be some limitations when you're doing non-toxic at-home versions of processes, and it's all about figuring out which ones work and which ones don't. So because this turned out to be a failure, I opted to do my second layer on foil litho instead. I rolled out a very, very light gray transparent ink, and I think this print is the perfect example of why a transparent flat is one of my favorite things. It may not look like much of anything on the foil, but once you print it over the previous layer, it is really, really incredible. See, look at that, it's great. Especially when you compare it with the print with only the first layer on it. It makes a huge, huge difference. Working this small certainly has its challenges, but the nice thing is once you get things rolling, it goes really, really quickly and printing the entire edition is a breeze. I ended up printing an edition of 10 of this stone and foil litho man titled Unwound. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it and see you next time.